We're here today on Country Pocket with Jason Hawk Harris. The new album is Thin Places, and you just heard the first track off it, Jordan and the Nile. Jason, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Just enjoying my Friday morning.
Uh, can you explain for the uninitiated the religious significance of the Jordan and the Nile?
Hmm. Um, that's interesting because I feel like there's so much baggage for each river. The Jordan and the Nile have historic significance to all three of the world's major religions, and or all the Abrahamic religions, Judaism, Islam, and Christianity. And I don't. It's something that like I've never really wanted to fully explain to myself. I just thought it was a really cool kind of picture. And I think I just want to kind of sit in the mystery of it rather than really have like a dedicated notion of what it means. I know that's like a non-answer, but that's sort of how I feel about it. That explaining it might ruin it, even for myself. I even don't want to explain it to myself.
Understood. Understood. There's a line on it that really resonated with me. My world is dark, but my abyss is bright.
Hmm.
And I don't know what it means to you, but um, I sort of relate to this song in more ways than one. My mother also had a drug problem. So I'm sort of drawn back to my childhood on that line where the world was dark, but imagination and escapism was like both great for keeping me afloat and also sort of destructive
Yeah,
in being an abyss. So,
yeah.
what were you thinking when you wrote that?
Well, I was actually reading a book by Christian Wyman called My Bright Abyss. And I kind of have had to um, kind of deconstruct and reconstruct what my own faith means to me. And it's sort of become this kind of like chasm that I inhabit, that is equally as scary as it is kind of like mysterious and hopeful. And so I think like also, what you said about escapism is great. I like your interpretation a lot, and I like what you were pulling from the song. I mean, I think it's completely related to what you said, and that you've got all this stuff happening around you, but are you're also constantly aware of what's the crappiness that's going on in your life, or the darkness that's kind of hanging over it, while at the same time being able to sort of like escape in a variety of ways. These are really good questions. Nobody's dug this deep yet.
I am told that all the time. We're gonna keep that up.
Love it.
Tell me sort of about losing your mother and what she suffered through.
Yeah. So she um had some really awful childhood trauma, that kind of just carried over into her adult life. And I think she just never really found a way to deal with it. And she self medicated with any number of pills and potions, and alcohol being the main culprit. And she just, she went on one final bender about a year before she died. And she didn't drink for the last year of her life, but I think that last bender that she went on, where she just hadn't consumed any calories that weren't vodka for like 2 weeks. Um, and I think that last bender just sort of did her in, and she just wasn't able to recover from it. And she ended up dying from complications due to her alcoholism and her liver and colitis.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Um, that was my awkward attempt at trying to comfort you, and you have the song Bring Out the Lilies, which is sort of all about that. So tell me what it feels like to be the one everyone's going to at the funeral.
Yeah, it's not the place that you want to be the most known person at. That's for sure. I think that you know, I can now tell within seconds of meetings or minutes of meeting someone if well actually immediately anytime I say that my mother passed, I can tell pretty immediately if this person knows what it feels like or they don't. And if they don't, they'll probably say a very well-intentioned and well-meaning, like, "I'm sorry for your loss. I just can't imagine what that's like." And then they'll just like kind of talk and flop all over themselves. And then, and it's well-meaning and it's fine, and it's just I appreciate it, but at the same time, it's like it's very different when I go up to someone who's lost a very close family member before, and even more so when it's their mother, because I'll say I lost their mother, and they'll just go, "Damn, yeah," because they know that there's nothing that can be said to you know make anything better. It's just kind of acknowledging that, like, yeah, it sucks, man. And so I think Bring Out the Lilies was more talking. I wanted to kind of examine like the surreal nature of sort of floating through life in that first week after someone dies, and how like it's almost, you go the waves of emotion that come when you just are like deeply unsettled and inconsolable, and you're just crying your eyes out, and then you get exhausted and you get tired and you just can't cry anymore, and then you get to this weird kind of surreal floating place that actually has a lot of is like rife for comedy, and there's lots of comedy in those moments. And one of them was just going to church on Easter Sunday after she died, and just kind of everybody wearing bright clothes and being all happy and being all psyched, and like I was just not in that place. And I think that many people came up to me and just sort of said, stuff like it's part of God's plan, things like that. And I just I wanted to tell the song through sort of a kind of a cheeky satirical sort of voice, and that's what Bring Out the Lilies ended up being.
Yeah, I mean, I guess comedy is one way of sort of lessening death's sting,
Hmm.
um, even if it's not one that you consciously come to.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah. So what does death's sting feel like? You said if you really wanted to ask you.
Yeah, I think it feels a lot stranger than you think it's going to feel. I think that, it stings a lot in those moments, in those waves where it comes in waves and you just kind of lose your mind in sorrow. But then, like, you have these residual effects that just kind of stick around while you're not in that state, where you're just like kind of doing your day to day, and you just have a thought like, I haven't talked to my mom in a while. I got to call her. And then it's like, boom, oh shit. No, she's dead. She's gone. I'm never going to call her again. And, it's so all encompassing in those first few months, first few weeks, first few months. So I think that's how I would describe it.
All right, let's hear Bring Out the Lilies, and we will be right back.